Aloha from Hawaii. Okay, Gato Scatena from SNR Films. Back again. It's been too long. So sorry. Ay, ay, ay. I'm gonna try and do these videos like way more often, like once a week. I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna commit to this. Hold me accountable. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I've got, like, over the past 6 months, I've gotten a lot of really good questions that kind of came in for these videos, and frankly, they're questions that, like, I feel like I answer them on a pretty regular basis. I've got like over 50 of them that I think are pretty solid. So I'm gonna try and do one a week. I've got a good one. This is: what distribution expenses can you expect as a filmmaker selling to a distributor, and how are those expenses recouped? I've got my handy little canned notepad. Shout out to David Lawrence for telling me they were selling them in the shop. All right, so I'm just gonna jump in. I'll reference the notepad here for some of the things, and then I'm just gonna freeball it. We'll see what happens. Okay, distribution costs, delivery costs, E&O, we'll get there. P&A, theatrical booking, delivery for theatrical, physical delivery, if you've got it, distribution fees and sales fees. Okay, that's it. It's been a good video. No, okay, I'm gonna get into it now. All right, so look, your delivery costs, I don't wanna like elongate this, but this is gonna come down to delivery, ingestion, and QC, quality control. You have to do all of this shit for all of the major platforms. You can't escape it. It is what it is. On the low end, there are some, lower level distributors that aren't paying too many bills. Call it $1.5 to $5,000 in your actual raw distribution costs just to get your movie out there. Next up, the question is, how big is your movie? The more competitive your film, the bigger the movie, the more likely you're going to have a theatrical release. If you have a theatrical release, it could be anywhere from, if there's like a nice little, nice little pay one SVOD deal floating out there from Showtime or Stars or somebody, you might have, call it a 20 screen theatrical release. On average, you're going to be looking at an all-in cost, including your theatrical booking agent and your DCP, your digital cinema package. Let's just call it, sort of build it in for this. You need to expect $500 to $2,000 per screen, okay? E&O, this should be your responsibility. I hate it. I know distributors hate it when they've got a movie they want, it's from a filmmaker who hasn't done it before, and they didn't budget for errors and omissions or E&O insurance. Just please budget it in your budgets. Call it $3,000, $3,500 if you want to play it safe. $4,000 is kind of the high that I see, but $3,000 should get the job done. And you might have, a couple $100 left over to spare. That should be on you, but there are some distributors that have umbrella E&O policies that they'll put you under, and then they'll recoup that expense. You got to just count on it being about $3,000 if they offer it. Not all of them offer it. Okay, P&A. The P&A there's such like a wide range of what a distributor is going to be wanting to spend. Is that a word? I don't think it's a word. What they're going to want to spend on advertising a film. On the super low end, it could be zero. I have distributors that when we're selling movies domestically, since we sell and distribute, there's some low-level distributors that they'll take your movie and they'll just throw it up against the wall. It's going to land on Amazon and Apple and, all the other places, and then it'll hit an AVOD window, and they're not going to get a streaming deal, so you can forget about that. And they're not going to put any effort into marketing or advertising, and they're going to lean on the filmmaker to do as much grassroots marketing as they can. And that can work, but the bummer is that, like, you're essentially giving a movie over to a distributor, and they're doing, like, very little. You're buying essentially like a key to the distribution kingdom, but they're not having to perform or earn it. So realistically, the low budget movies, you need to expect kind of a minimum of $5,000 being spent in advertising money, but it's going to be anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 US. When you start getting into theatrical territory, the P&A is going to go up. It can go up a lot. If you've got a big name actor in a movie, your overall expenses could be well over $1 million or $2 million. We're not talking about studio pictures here. We're just talking about the independents. The theatrical booking costs, kind of already established, call it 500 to 2K. All right, your distribution fees. So, like, how do you recoup? Good question. The distributors are recouping their expenses out of your portion of the proceeds. And without getting into like too much of the economics as to why this is the way that it is, and it might seem unfair when you're first starting out, but sorry, like it's expensive to run a company and to keep a company afloat, let alone to grow. So they have to be able to make their profits, and then they have to recoup their expenses somewhere else. And that's going to come out of your portion. So distribution fees could be anywhere from 15% on the super low, and that's definitely not going to have a minimum guarantee involved. And probably no commitment whatsoever to spend any advertising dollars because they don't have enough skin in the game. And it could be up to 50%, 50. Like if they give you some giant payday as a minimum guarantee, they're going to charge you for it. And never mind if you sell outright to a streamer like Netflix. I mean, what you get paid is what you get paid. You're not getting royalties, right? Because they're not doing that right now. Maybe when they properly are in the AVOD world, there's going to be some kind of revenue share aspect to it. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So let's just say you're getting an advance, because most films, especially if the movie is decent, you're going to get some kind of MG. Let's just call it 35%. Let's say it's 30%. At a 30% deal, 30% distribution fee, you need to know that it's your 70% that's recouping all of these expenses. So all in all, kind of like, I guess like a rule of thumb here would be, you should expect recoupable expenses at the distribution end on the low end to be around, super low end would be like $7,000, which means they're doing absolutely nothing. So call it 12,000 up to 50,000 for like low to mid level film. The bigger the movie, they're gonna go bigger, as I said, and you could be in, well into six figures in advertising costs. So if your movie makes $1 million, the distributor is keeping 300,000 of that. And if they spent 700,000 in advertising, well, up to that point where you've grossed exactly a million, you get zero, because they need to recoup their 700K. It's the way that it works. It's a bitch. I know. That being said, you also have to consider if you have a sales agent on board. I know a lot of filmmakers who do a decent job of selling their movies in North America on their own. If they've got a really competitive title, maybe they got some name talent, it's a good genre, really well executed, that might not matter. If you sell your own North American deal, however, and you have a hard to sell movie, let's say you've got a drama or, that did not go to Cannes or South by Southwest or Tribeca, Sundance, and you don't have name talent, then getting a sales agent to cover your international sales is going to be pretty difficult, because they know right off the top there's no money for them to make on the North American deal, which is going to account for, on a low budget, uncompetitive film, North America is going to be like 50% of your revenue. I mean, so they're out a lot of money, but their expenses stay the same. So I think a lot of the confusion that happens with how do filmmakers make money with distributors is really just based on a lack of understanding on all of the things that distributors do. Now I'm thinking about it, like that should maybe be its own video. Anyways, all right, so short answer is on the low end, you have expenses of 7,000. On the average, if you've got a decent movie, you need to expect for about $16,000 to $25,000 in expenses are going to be recouped. All in. That's going to be everything, distribution costs, QC, advertising, all of it. And then on the high end, it can just go, significantly up, especially if you're doing a theatrical. So you could be, closer to 50,000 with no theatrical or very limited theatrical. And if you are theatrical, you need to immediately expect you're going to be in the 100,000 plus range for recoupable expenses. As soon as you're there, in order for you to hit royalties, that you've got to be, call it 2x. You've got to be like, depending on how much money they paid for in a minimum guarantee, you've got to be essentially 2x of expenses for you to be seeing what you want to see. And also, just a quick reminder, can't believe that I didn't throw this in there. The minimum guarantee that they pay you, that's an expense. So they have to recoup that, and they get to recoup that out of your portion of the proceeds. Little side note, a lot of the kind of studio level distributors that we work with often, they've been offering up revenue share deals to some of their bigger filmmakers even that have been working out quite nicely, because the one thing to consider, if there's a minimum guarantee, while they're giving you a nice lump sum of cash up front, because they recoup it out of your portion of the proceeds, it means that overall you're actually making less money. So if you're willing to participate kind of in the distribution risk with your distributor, you're going to hit royalties faster. If your movie's successful, you're ultimately going to see more money if you do not take a minimum guarantee. I'm not recommending it, by the way. Like, there are many situations where I think an MG is absolutely the way to go, especially obviously in pre-sales, because otherwise why are you giving them the rights up front with nothing in return? But yeah, so that's everything. Is that okay? I hope that answers some questions. But man, if you've got more questions, because I feel like they're coming, let me know. Just a reminder, SNR Films, you can go to snrfilms.com. We do sales, financing, and distribution. And on a case-by-case basis, we also offer consulting services if you are looking for film package consulting and production consulting. Okay, I think I covered it all. It's Friday. Is it Friday? It's beer o'clock. How about that? I hope everyone's having a good day. Aloha from Hawaii.